Okay, the aim of this presentation is just to give some information prior to Parents' Evening that will hopefully help the evening to go smoothly. We recognise that currently there are going to be lots of questions and uncertainties around the 2021 grading and assessment process. Our students may feel like they're stuck, as in the picture here, between a rock and a hard place, and therefore we're really keen to provide reassurances to families and students as soon as we can on these matters so that everyone can continue to focus on the work ahead. The aim of this presentation is to share with you the current situation. It may help to answer some of the questions around grades that you have, and therefore allow you to use your time with teachers to focus on how best you can prepare your child for the rest of the year and how we can work together to support them. So a couple of key points. Currently, Ofqual are completing and reviewing a consultation process that closed on January the 29th. And Ofqual are the organisation in charge of looking at qualifications and the regulation of exams. As soon as we have this information, we will share it with families, and that will be the information that we follow and guide ourselves on the journey through the rest of 2021. We're hoping that it gives us a clear route. We have been involved in the consultation in that we've shared our thoughts and feelings with that, and parents and students have had the opportunity as well. So hopefully it will reflect that wider view. So some key points to be aware of. On the night in parents' evenings, teachers are not going to have that clarity and that confidence to be able to talk to you about specific grades. This year, the process is looking like it's going to be very different, and that means it's going to be very hard to say to a student, you're on course to achieve a grade 4, where in previous years we might have had that confidence. We will not have that confidence this year. So teachers may talk very loosely about grades. They might talk about grade bands, for example, working in somewhere in the region of a grade 4 to a grade 6. But again, we must recognise that this year is going to be very different, and there is no certainty with any of those conversations in terms of grades. The consultation is making it quite clear that it's going to be very likely for students as part of their grading process this year that they have to complete an assignment, under controlled conditions. If there are some subjects that don't have any or weren't due to have any formal exams, I imagine they'll look at a different route for those. But subjects where they had an exam in the summer which is now cancelled, they are now looking at the possibility of having some form of assessment under controlled conditions taking place in school. We're waiting to understand how much weight that assessment will carry within any grading process that takes place for teachers as part of those teacher assessed grades. The assessments, they are suggesting that they will focus on different parts of the curriculum, and that means that any student's been affected due to lockdown and remote learning will not have a negative impact on their performance in the assessment. So the assessment will cover different sections of the curriculum and potentially giving schools the flexibility to select the test that covers the parts of the curriculum they have managed to cover. Other evidence they are considering including would be the NEAs. Again, we're just waiting on further guidance to understand what that means. But NEAs in subjects, for example, DT, food, drama, PE, art, graphics, textiles, and music BTEC. Students have been working on those. In some subjects, they have finished those already. In other subjects, they are an ongoing process. They would take time, if allowed, when we get back in. If opportunities give us that, we would work together with students and help them to finish those bits off. And that would then all be part of the evidence base should the NEAs be required as part of the assessment process. Basically, we don't see any student being disadvantaged by that, and we'd make sure that everybody is given the opportunities to complete that work as best they can. So at this point, it does sound like everything's up in the air, and in some ways it is, but at this point, the best advice we can give to students is just to focus on working hard and making progress through their courses. Students this year have come back in September and worked fantastically well. The remote learning has been a really strong engagement, and students working really well in what is a challenging circumstances. And I think if we can just continue that focus, continue that hard work, then students are going to be in the best position to whatever we are going to face in the months ahead. They'll be in the best position to perform at their best. We had our mock exams cancelled in January due to the lockdown, and we are keen to complete those assessments once we get back into school and once we've got students working with us again and settled back into their learning. And we'll communicate dates and times and content of those assessments as and when we have set those up and share that with you. The other key part for our Year 11 students is obviously the attainment is in terms of the grades they achieve, but it's also looking at that transition to their future studies to the next stage. For many, that could be going on to a college or apprenticeship schemes, and we recognise it's important to support students with that transition and make sure that the routes they're taking are going to be supported by those grades and helping students where maybe there is a difference between that. So part of that would involve the work of Mrs. Durand, who's our careers guidance lead, and she'll be looking to make contact with students and support students and making sure that everything's in place that needs to be in place to get that transition as smooth as we can for students. So just going back over some key points that I really want to kind of leave with you and hopefully give you those reassurances that I spoke about. We are waiting for the guidance to be confirmed for how 2021 grading process will work, and as soon as we have that, we will share it with our community so we all understand what we're working towards. It is very likely that students are going to complete an assessment, therefore keeping the focus on the hard work, the power of the possible, everything's to play for right now is going to put us in the strongest position in terms of grading for the subjects they are studying. NEAs, they're telling us that they are very likely to be included in those subjects where students are doing that. Keep that focus on those. When we get back in, we will look to finish those pieces of work off as best we can. As I've already mentioned, the best advice we can give to students at this point is just to keep working hard, make progress through their courses. If we do have students going on to study A-levels in particular subjects, then it's really important they make that progress through a course in order to support that transition into that subject at A-level. We will do the assessments, as I said, once we get back into school and we've got the children settled back in. We will look at completing assessments with them, and that will really help to see where students are up to, which aspects of the course we need to work on in school as a focus, and support students to close any gaps they might have in their learning. And for our older students, our Year 11, it's really important we look at that transition, make sure students have got courses in place, look at the entry requirements for those courses, and make sure we're working with families and students to support them to make that a successful event. I really hope this presentation helps to give some background information to the assessment situation. I understand there might be more questions, and as soon as we have more information, we'll share it with you. But it's intended to allow you to make the most of your time with teachers at the upcoming Parents' Evening. I think those conversations will be the most beneficial for everybody if they focus on which aspects of work students need to address and how we can support them working through the period of time ahead in preparation for the end of their studies in 2021. Thank you very much for listening. Good luck and stay safe.